was in college, I got like this dream job working in a 8,000 seat arena that my college had basketball games and music concerts and among other things. And so I'd set up band gear, sound and lights and things like that. It was a place where I got to do some or meet some folks that I was really like kind of hero worship. Got to give a tour of the building to Steven Tyler and his daughter Liv. I had a conversation with Neil Young about the leather jacket he was wearing that had been given to him by a First Nations tribe that had been chewed by the women of the tribe in the traditional manner that leather was cured. And one of my favorites was I got to dance with Paul Simon's mother to You Can Call Me Al on Paul Simon's birthday. So, but that's not what the story's about, but it's where it starts. And so one day I went into my boss to get my, it was like first come, first serve for gigs. So I went in to find out what was coming up and if I could get some work. And he was on the phone, so I waited a few minutes. And when he got off the phone, he goes, "Hey, King, you want to go to Venezuela?" It's like, what do you mean? He says, "Well, I won this airplane ticket, round-trip ticket to Venezuela, to Caracas in the athletic department auction. And I just booked a gig, and it's going to expire next week, and I can't go. So you want it? You can have it." I said, "I'm sure, why not? I'll go to Venezuela." So I talked a friend into driving me to Miami, where the flight originated, and stayed with my uncle, who happened to live there, thank goodness. And being a college student and not very prepared for this trip, I went to my bank before I left, and I had $200. It's like, I could do this. I've read, like, Europe on $8 a day, and I hear all my friends tell me that, yeah, I spent like a year in Guatemala for $50. So, so I'm like, yeah, fine, I could do Caracas on $200. And so I get a ride down to Miami, and I'm staying with my uncle, who's a surgeon. It was like, "Hey, you might need a little bit more money. Here's $100." So I had $300, and and this is back when you could like walk your friends and family onto the plane. So my cousin drove me to the airport and walked with me onto the plane, and we're standing in line, and we're not getting strip searched, and we're not getting, it's like, good time at the airport still. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Man, who's that?" And I was like checking him, like I'm Mr. International Romance Styly. I'm going to Caracas, and so there's this beautiful woman standing there and in line and everything. And when we get on the plane, man, I'm seated right next to her. I'm totally psyched. And she's this lawyer who negotiates like international trade disputes. And so we just talk, and I'm a college student in art school. And, so I'm, and she starts to gather, like maybe I'm not prepared for this situation. And she's like, "The airport is about an hour away from Caracas. How are you going to get there?" And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I should have done some more research." And so she's like, "I got a friend on the flight, and he maybe his family can give you a ride into the city and so forth." So she introduces me when we land, and there's like people with chickens and stuff, which is kind of cool. So I'm like, "Oh, this is in my favor. I'm going to do this, on the Chiefs, because people have chickens in the airport." That just means, third world, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, this doesn't make me out to be the smartest person, by the way. But anyway, so this guy gives me, his family agrees to take me into Caracas, and they're telling me, come talk to us tomorrow. We need to get caught up and do some things, but we might have a place for you to stay. I'm like, "Oh, wow, this is turning out okay." I mean, So the first night I go to a hotel, and I'm in Caracas. I have no plan, none whatsoever. And I'm walking around. I got my backpack, and the cheapest hotel I can find is $60 American. So I'm like, I've got 10 days here. If these people don't have a place for me to stay, I'm kind of screwed. So I don't know what I'll do. So anyway, the next day, I go back and see them. I'm like, "Yeah, hi, remember me, the guy who drove from the airport? how's that place? They're like, yeah, you guys can, you can stay there. It's caught on fire, but there's a bunk bed from the kids' room, and there's a bathroom, so it's cool. So yeah, all right, I've got a free place to stay. And there's a smoke damage, and this building. Oh, by the way, let me go back a little bit. I asked them on the way, like, what's a local food? What's something really awesome to eat? What says Caracas? What says Venezuela? And they told me arepas. And an arepa is kind of like a tortilla mixed with a pancake that they put a lot of different things in, eggs and cheese or beef or tripe or something like that. And I've been a vegetarian now at this point for 4 years, and I don't really know how to eat vegetarian in Caracas, so I'm like lapsing on the side of I have to survive. And so this one guy says, look, I'm telling him my story. He's like, no matter what you do, just don't go there, because see that? And this is corrugated metal roofs and cardboard walls and dirt floors. And he goes, that's called La Chorñeca. And that's, it's dangerous. They'll knife you there. They'll kill you. They'll take your money. So I'm like, okay, great. Will not go there. So when I go to Armando's house and say, hey, do you have this a place for me to stay? They're like, oh, yeah, sure. So they take me to this place, and it's right in La Chorñeca. And I'm going, I can kind of handle this. And this is a building, no windows, maybe 8 stories tall, plants hanging out of the windows. What they used for their silverware was the concrete blocks turned on their sides. And there was a drain in the middle of the floor, so when it rained, the water would go down in the middle of the floor. And it's just like terrazzo and concrete block, high-rise apartment building. And in the walls, there was a courtyard, and the courtyard wall was about 6 feet tall, and it had broken glass just stuck in the mortar all over the top so people wouldn't come in. And because this is an area where people are not very affluent, when they get evicted, they just throw all their shit out the window. And in the morning, there's a knock on my door. And this woman is going, Cheo, my baby. And Cheo's Armando's nickname. And she says, I locked my keys inside the apartment, and I can't get my baby. And this is all in Spanish, which I'm desperately trying to learn at this point. And so we go outside, and there's a kid in the window right below her apartment. And we're like, hey, can you go in there and try to unlock the door? And he just reaches over and pulls down the shade. So I climb over the wall with broken furniture that I find in the alley, and I climb up the building, and I Uchi out on the wall, and I climb through the window and unlock the door. So now I've got a free place to stay. I'm fed every single day with this family, and I managed to survive Caracas for 10 days on $300.